This video will show you how to replace the side engine mount on a GMC Sierra 2500 with a 6-liter engine. You'll have one of these on each side of the engine, and you'll access them through your fender well. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the front end of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, if you have a hubcap, we're going to remove that. That can be done using a 22mm socket. After that, we'll remove all 8 of our 22mm lug nuts as well, so we can remove the wheel. Locate your battery on the passenger side of the engine compartment. We're going to be disconnecting our negative battery terminal. You can see it down in this area. We're going to have to use a 10mm to loosen the mounting nut just enough that we can remove the terminal end from the battery. We'll set that aside so it's making no contact. To start removing the fender liner, we're starting at our splash guard. You can see it along the backside here. This is going to be held in place with 2 Phillips head screws. Remove the pair. We'll make sure we're holding onto the splash guard. Go ahead and set that aside. Now that we have that out of the way, we can start removing the fender liner. You're going to find that you have several 7mm headed mounting bolts making their way along the outboard edge. We'll start with all of those bolts first. Once you have removed all of the mounting bolts, we're going to continue on with several push clips. Now, as far as our push clips, these can come in all different shapes and sizes, and of course, they may have been replaced at some point. Most push clips, you're going to want to carefully start removing the center to unlock them. Once you have them unlocked, you can remove the outer portion. So now we have another push clip up here, but I like to save one of the upper clips for last, of course. So let's make our way towards the front. We're continuing on with plastic push clips. Our way down. Now as we move towards the front, we have 2 more push clips here. For these push clips, you can tell they do not have a locking center. We'll take hold of them and pull them out of place. You may find you have a hard time removing your push pins using a trim tool. If you have a specialty tool, you can try that as well. So now both sides of the fender liner do move around. We have our one last push clip that we can remove. Now keep in mind this is the last thing holding this in place. Be aware so it does not fall down and potentially hurt you. We're holding it up. Remove that push pin. There it is, friend. A quick inspection and we'll set that aside. Now that we have the fender liner out of the way, we have a clear view of our engine. One thing we'll mention is since we're working around the exhaust manifold, you want to make sure it's cool to the touch. We don't want you getting burnt. Now with that said, once you look below the exhaust manifold, this is where we can see our engine mount. We're going to start with the engine mount mounting hardware down along the bottom here. The mount rests on a secondary mount located just below it. It's held in place with three 15mm headed mounting bolts. You can see one on one side, one in the center, and then you have the exact same thing on the rearward side as well. Go ahead and remove all three. A thorough inspection of all mounting hardware as we continue on. Replace it as necessary. Now our next mounting bolt is located just here. All three of those bolts will look the same. You do not need to worry about mixing them up. Let's pause on the engine mount, and now we're making our way underneath the front of the vehicle. We're looking for the engine oil pan. We have to apply support underneath the engine on the side of the engine that we're working on. When we do this, I like to be along an edge or corner of the oil pan, never along the center or underneath where the drain plug is. We'll use a small piece of wood here. I've got it on a jack. Now, as we start raising this up, we need to also be paying attention over at that mount. You're going to find that the engine only goes up so far, but the mount should separate from the lower mount. There we are. Now that we have the engine safely raised, let's make our way inside this area. We can see where we have four 15mm mounting bolts. You have two on either side of this mount, holding the mount to the engine. Get that broken free. There's one of our mounting bolts. Let's continue on to all others. Along the rear, we have the same exact positioning for our mounting bolts. With all the hardware out of there, we can start removing the mount. One thing you're going to find as you attempt to remove this is it does not slide up and away in between the frame and the exhaust manifold. It's going to have to go towards the starter and then down and out under the vehicle. With that said, if your power wire is down at an angle like this, you're going to have to remove it from the starter. Of course, we are not touching any of this wiring unless you have disconnected that negative battery terminal. Make sure you did not skip that step. To remove the wire, you're going to find that you have a 13mm mounting nut. We'll start loosening that mounting nut and remove the wire from the starter. There's our mounting nut. You may find that you have a locking washer. You're going to remove that. Give it a quick inspection. This looks good. We've removed the wire from the starter and we're setting it aside. Now we can take hold of the mount. We're going to start bringing it towards the starter and down underneath the vehicle. Be extremely careful while you're under there so the mount does not fall down and potentially hurt you. Let's go ahead and take hold of that mount. we're starting to bring it out and through this area. You should find that it slides right down along the starter and the frame fairly easily. Let's be careful for our wiring. Now we're looking underneath the vehicle here. Just take hold of that mount. There it is, friend. Prior to installation of any brand new part, of course, we're going to make sure we clean and inspect our mounting area. Let's start looking at the engine. As far as cleaning this, I'm going to use some fine sandpaper. We'll give it a light scuffing to confirm there's no raised areas. We'll just clean all 4 of the mounting areas here. After that, we can make our way down to the lower mount. We're going to clean that mounting surface as well. Just a quick rinse. All this looks good, so now we're focusing on the lower mount next. Now looking at this area, we have 3 mounting points that we want to pay attention to. So I'm still using my fine sandpaper. We're just making sure there's no raised areas. Of course, we can pay attention to the threaded areas to confirm those don't need to be cleaned as well. Okay, friend, it's time to install the brand new passenger side engine mount. Let's start bringing this up into position here. Now we can install our engine side mounting bolts. I've cleaned the threads on my bolts, and I like to use some blue thread locker. At this point, we're only starting in all 4 of our upper mounting bolts. We'll bottom them out and torque them once all of them have been started in. So we're holding on to this. We're making our adjustments as necessary as we continue on to our next mounting bolt. Now at this point, let's go over to the other side of the mount. We'll start in those mounting bolts. Once they're all started in, we're going to snug them and torque them to 37 foot-pounds. Okay, so I've got all 4 mounting bolts started in. At this point, let's go ahead and snug them up and torque them to that 37 foot-pounds. They're snug. Let's go ahead and torque them. Just double check that. Now at this point, we're going to start lowering the engine down, but before we do that, let's make sure we reattach the wire to our starter. Just go ahead and bring that into position over the starter stud. As you remember during the removal process, we had a locking washer and a 13mm mounting nut. We'll put each of them in place, start on that mounting nut, snug it up, and torque it to 80 inch-pounds. Locking washer first. When we install this wire, make sure you have it in the proper orientation so the metal portion is not touching up against the starter or up against the other mounting tab. Okay, that's torqued. Take hold of the wire, attempt to move it. It should not move around while it's in place. If it does, it's not tightened properly. Now we'll carefully start lowering the engine down so the mount rests up against its lower mounting point. Of course, we do need to make sure that our mounting bolt ports align as well. Now that we've lowered the engine and mount down to the lower mounting point, we'll continue on with our 3 15mm headed mounting bolts. When we tighten these, we're starting with the center. Now we've torqued all pieces of mounting hardware, one last quick inspection in this area, and we can start reinstalling our fender liner. Start bringing our fender liner in place here. Bring it up in there. Now we're attempting to align it. We want to start in the upper mounting hardware first, so it'll hold it in place, and then we'll continue along either side. We'll continue on with our push pins before installing our mounting bolts. Let's continue downward. We have another push pin port down in the bottom corner. That's the push clips for the rearward side. Now we're moving towards the forward side. We have several push clips to install on this side as well. We'll make sure we're properly aligned in each one of our areas. Now, as you remember in this area here, we had the type of push clips that we did not have to remove the center. You can just go ahead and line those up and press them in. Now we're continuing on with our 7mm headed mounting screws. We have one in the forward corner. Let's go ahead and install that first. There's that one. Let's make our way upward. We'll make our way over. Continue on with our 7mm headed mounting bolts. Now it's time for our splash guard. We'll make sure we put this into the original positioning. We're continuing on with our Phillips head screws. We're trying to find the original ports that are already in the fender of the vehicle. That one's tight. There we are. Double check to make sure that's properly secured in place. Now, one last quick inspection in this area, and we can reinstall our front wheel. Now it's time to reinstall that wheel. Once you have the wheel in place, start on all 8 of your 22mm lug nuts. We're going to lightly bottom them out. We'll get the wheel safely back down on the ground and then torque each of them to 140 foot-pounds. Now I've got the wheel back on the ground. Let's go ahead and torque each of these lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. If you have a center cover, install that now. We'll get the center cover in place. We're starting on each one of our caps using our 22mm socket here. Just snug them up. Double check to make sure it's secured in place. Under the hood, we're along the passenger side. It's time to reconnect our negative battery terminal. We're going to take the terminal end, slide it all the way down onto the battery as far as possible, and tighten our 10mm mounting nut. Make sure it's on there as far as possible. Double check to make sure that's secured in place.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.